Hey, I remembered the little second video clip. I need to stitch those together, Andy, because it goes from like pre-show to like it flashes to us for a second, and then it's like, hey, there's the little title slide. I gotta fix that one of these days. Just so busy. Well, happy
Okay.
Friday, everybody. Hope
I'm
you're
glad
doing
you
all
remembered
right.
that.
Yeah, I clicked it like just a fraction of a second too late, and then I saw like both of us just like staring as I went to the second one. So hope you guys are doing all right. I see we've got somebody watching from Rome, so it's evening for you. I appreciate you tuning in on your Friday evening. If you guys are in the chat, let us know what you got going on this Friday and what you're up to, what you plan for this weekend or something. So I see we got Simon, we got Pete. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. It's kind of been a busy Friday morning for me, Andy. I had like lots of meetings back to back, and it's nice to kind of end it out with talking about something cool, kind of playing around with some cool technology. I see Simon. It's 4 o'clock in the morning for you, man. Wow. Thanks for thanks for being so dedicated. It's Saturday for you, right? Because yeah, you guys are ahead of us. So
It's
thanks
either
for joining.
someone's up really, really late or got up really, really early.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. You must be quite excited to talk about AI producer today. So, but yeah, it looks like we got a few people joining us here coming in. So appreciate that. Yeah, we were talking before this, Andy. It's been kind of a crazy week, kind of hectic. It sounds like you've had storms roll through. I've had my own electrical problems this week too, where I forgot to mention we bought a garage fridge at Lowe's and had it like delivered and everything, and we put a bunch of food in it and then promptly ruined all the food because we were tripping the GFI plug out in the garage and then not realizing it until like boom, all the ice cream's melted. And I think I got to the bottom of it though, man. I think the problem is we have a Pacifica hybrid car. We plug that in and have the fridge going. It's pulling 27 amps on a 20 amp circuit. So now I've got a whole new project going on where I've got to get a quote to get like a proper EV charger installed in my garage and everything. But it's that sounds a little bit more involved than what you were telling me about with your storms you've had going through.
Yeah, we had a microburst thunderstorm come through, a couple of them this week, and I was
Mhm.
in the process of delivering some training on Tuesday, and out of the corner of my eye, it was sunny, and then all of a sudden, I saw a flash of lightning, and as I glanced over, I heard the boom, but the
Mhm.
boom came through my microphone and directly into my headset, and it peaked, and my ears rang for, like, the next day or 2, and then a few minutes later, there was a blip in the power, and everything in front of me except for my laptop shut down. And so a
Mhm.
couple of machines didn't get shut down properly. So me being in panic mode, went out and purchased an uninterrupted power supply and got that
Mhm.
wired up. So got a battery backup now. Hopefully, in the event of another power outage, I'm going to be able to power these things down
Yeah.
and be able to prevent some damage to some circuits. I don't know what I'm going to do about my hearing. We'll figure
Just
out
wait it out, I
something
guess.
to that.
Yeah. What size UPS did you get, by the way?
Mm, that's a
Do you know
good
how many watts
question.
it was?
One second.
I'm in the market for mine. I need to get something uh, for my house. So I've got my office that I'm sitting in right now. It's got like my laptop, my camera, my Mac Studio, which right now I'm streaming through my personal Mac Studio. I've got to power all of that. But then in my basement, I've got a full height server rack with all my network equipment, a couple servers and stuff like that. So I'd like to power both of them, but I don't know like what size I should get. Here's an
So I
AP3.
am not shilling for a product, but this is what Best Buy had on the shelf. It was the
Okay.
best rated one they had. 900 watts, 150 minutes runtime for PC loads. It's got a
Mm.
couple of USB charging ports on it, a battery for, it's got 10 outlets, 5 can be connected to battery backup, the other 5
Mhm.
to surge protector, and 1500
Nice.
VA. Shows
Yeah,
you
I might
like,
have to look into that. That
uh,
sounds like a pretty beefy one, at least for like my office equipment. That might be good. What
yeah,
I worry about is like if I get one for my office and then I get a UPS for my server rack, I think that one's going to have to be like really heavy duty and be probably really expensive and really like large in size. I've been thinking about getting like just a solar generator instead, possibly, and like using that, have that like next to it, and then be able to have like more circuits in my house powered. But yeah, we'll see. So
fun things to
interesting.
think about. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna get me on another big kick. I just bought a NAS for my house. I just bought a Synology NAS last weekend, and now I'm already on to the next toy. What can I buy? What can I do to keep building up my overly ridiculous technology in my house? So,
Fortunately, I haven't, like, outside of the power outage and the, UPS, I haven't
hmm
had, a whole lot of, want to, get anything because
hmm
I've been spending, my time over the last, month or so outside of work hours,
hmm
learning the Sony A7 IV, full frame camera. That's been a lot of
hmm
fun. A lot of fun just diving into that. So I've been spending a ton of time playing
yeah,
on that. So I've had my hands busy with that. So
yeah,
the wanting to go
deep
and buy
diving into menus and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
learning how to really dial in things like exposure, uh,
hmm
taking advantage, like learning the exposure triangle, aperture, ISO, and shutter speed, and
hmm
how to manipulate those so that you get good quality picture coming out of the device. Learning how to use the zebras to tell when you're overexposed, and then
Yeah.
trying to take control the natural light. Like, I've got a window right here that's really
hmm
brings in a ton of natural light. Like, the light actually like the sun goes behind me, like that's west behind me.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of north over here, but my neighbor's house is right there. And so when the sun's going that way, all that light's reflecting just right in through my window. So it keeps my room pretty bright. So
hmm
trying to like figure out the light from over there, the light from the camera, and my key lights, and kind of dial that in. That's been fun
Yeah. Having to
to
work around the sun is a little bit complicated. Like, if I turned off all my lights, I'm completely dark inside this room. Like, I've
yeah.
blacked out my window. So, I could be on it could be 4 o'clock in the morning like Simon, and I look exactly the same because it's all studio lighting, which is you feel a little bit like you're in a cave after a
Yeah.
while if you don't have too much natural light, so it bothers my eyes sometimes if I'm on too many meetings, but
Well,
it's nice to have total control,
I
so.
did take advantage of the, Amazon Prime Day. Aperture had a
Mhm,
sale on, they had a key light package. You could get, an Amarin, 60X,
mhm,
light, and, a Light Dome Mini. So I did
yeah,
purchase one of those because it was like $130 discount, which is pretty awesome. I haven't
nice, yeah, that's
set it up
pretty
yet.
good.
So, like, getting a big soft box and, like, that's part of it, and
Mhm,
I do have blackout curtains. I just like the natural light whenever I'm not presenting.
yeah,
Um,
pull it open as much as you can, and
yeah, and take
yeah,
advantage of
it
that,
makes you
but
feel like a human,
yeah.
you know?
But you get in here and, like, it's just
Although,
dark all the time, and, like,
yeah,
yeah, I agree.
well,
Definitely easier to
Daryl likes
control
the
in a darkened room,
yeah,
especially when
Daryl
you're
likes that extra
pale and
control.
reflective like I am.
Yeah, yeah, I don't get much of a tan in here off of my Elgato key light, but so, uh, to move on, we wanted to focus today, our live stream, on, something a little bit different. We talk most of the time, pretty much all the time, about, like, native what's in Office 365, what's available in Microsoft Teams. And we wanted to do something a little bit different because um, Microsoft has kind of expanded their ecosystem to uh, to include some partnerships with live event companies out there, and one of those is a company called Live Arena. They have a product called AI Producer, and Andy and I were fortunate enough to meet with this group and get a demo license so that we could try it in our MVP tenant. And we wanted to, show it off, talk about like what it can do, show how it works as kind of an exciting, a little bit of a different like pivot on the live event technology inside of your Microsoft Teams environment. So, um, before I get started, and I want to show my screen here in a second. I'll show you guys the blog post where they talked about a few different vendors. Um, I do want to start out with a little bit of a disclaimer to let you guys know, like, so this is a paid product called AI Producer. This is not a sponsorship at all. This is not a sponsored live stream or anything like that. We've met and I've met with Live Arena before, and I talked about AI Producer. They, showed me a demo kind of before this was all broadly announced at the NAB show. They gave me a trial license. I put it in my MVP tenant, but that license is going to expire. It's just a trial, just to demonstrate some of this. They don't, I haven't talked to them about like what we're going to show or what we're going to talk about. They don't have any like influence over what we're going to talk about because like this isn't sponsored. I just wanted to put that out there and say like, hey, you can get a demo for your environment just like we've got a demo. It's totally out there. And you'll see the name all over the portal whenever we show that, so you guys can check that out if this looks like something that's interesting to you. But to share my screen to dive in and set the scene a little bit, this is an announcement that came out at the NAB show, which NAB is, what is it, the National Association for Broadcasters, I think is what NAB stands for. It's every year, usually in Las Vegas, and it's Andy and I really like watch it, watch like all the announcements that are coming out, because that's where you'll see like new camera announcements, a lot of new microphones, lights, all this cool live streaming tech that we talk about. Well, Microsoft kind of had a presence this year to announce that some of their partners are using the Teams broadcast development kit to actually have products out there in the marketplace. And if you remember, maybe Andy, it's been probably a year ago. I think it was about a year ago that they announced this new broadcast development kit. So BDK is what they call it. And you deploy it in Azure. It's got a bunch of like Azure resources. And then you can do RTMP streams and especially SRT input and output into this BDK to do some live event, like very advanced live event production with Microsoft Teams meetings as basically the backbone for like everybody comes into a meeting, and then you're peeling off those feeds and you're using them in these other situations like with Epiphan or with these other providers to do really high quality, really low latency live streaming, kind of like what we can do with Restream or StreamYard, things like that. But you're doing it inside of your nice compliant Microsoft 365 environment. So I think, yeah, Andy just dropped this in the chat on YouTube, but this was back in April. Aaron made this post announcing that like, so Everts is one of them. Avid is another one. Epiphan, who I've done some videos with Epiphan in the past, they've got a product coming out that they're calling Epiphan Connect. So you'll be able to get from your Teams meeting into their Epiphan cloud, you'll be able to get SRT streams, which are very low latency, and you'll be able to mix them together with like your local cameras and everything, have a branded experience coming out. And then what we're going to talk about today is Live Arena. They announced a product called AI Producer. And what's really cool about this is it's using the BDK and it's taking the feeds from your Microsoft Teams meeting, just like these other ones are, but it's adding some intelligence on top of it to where they're taking those feeds and the AI engine is able to do some stage layouts, if you will, and show like, okay, this person is talking, so we're going to show them on screen really large. Everybody else is going to be smaller. And then if somebody else starts talking, they'll blow up to the larger size. Maybe they're sharing content. You've got two presenters plus a shared screen. It will automatically switch between a highly detailed slide where it's just full screen, you're looking at details, to it will naturally switch over to the presenter next to their slides. If you've got a panel in your live event, you'll be able to have multiple people on screen at a time doing like a Q&A, something like that. So a lot of what we've wanted to do with the base Microsoft Teams live event functionality, you can get through something like this and have it all automated, so you don't have a production crew doing all of the switching. You can kind of turn that stuff over. So hopefully that will kind of explain a little bit of like what we're talking about. It's like a partnership between Microsoft, a whole bunch of these other vendors that are out there, and the one we wanted to look at today is called AI Producer. Anything you want to add to that, Andy? I don't know if you've checked this out on your own
Yeah. Yeah, I've
with
read
Live
through it.
Arena before.
The thing that jumped out at me was something we were talking about when we were doing some testing on it, and that was
Hmm.
it was taking advantage of the Azure broadcast, I believe,
Hmm.
for, and I'd have to double check on that. But it's taking advantage of Azure resources for some of the capabilities. And the specific things I remember, and we'll talk about it a little as we're going through today, but the specific things
Hmm.
that I remember really making an impact for me was the ability to have it record high definition almost instantaneously to a storage mechanism of your choosing. Like, for example,
Hmm.
OneDrive. I know sometimes, like a Teams meeting recording, the recorded file, the frame rate's kind of low and the resolution isn't as maybe high as like some people would want. Maybe if I'm doing
Hmm.
a remote town hall, if I'm doing a remote, keynote presentation, I want the highest definition that I can get for
Yeah.
replaying that video, embedding it in my network and replaying it. And when we were
Hmm.
doing the testing, some of the capabilities to record high frame rate, high definition was really, really cool. So I
Hmm.
remember when we tested that out, I was that really just stuck with me. So looking
Yeah,
forward
that's
to
something that I want to keep an eye on. If we have a way to test it, Daryl, I put your comment on screen. If we have a way to test what the feeds are themselves, we'll see if we can try to figure any of that out. But I will say in the trials that I've done, like the demos, it is like incredibly crisp. I know it's definitely not 240p, but yeah, I would be curious if is it fluctuating at all when you're talking about taking your team's inputs and sending them SRT to an Azure service? Is it maintaining that quality? Does it drop down? What happens with like, packet loss, stuff like that? I'm not sure the answer for that, but we will see whenever I demo this. We'll record it. One of the really cool things I've noticed about this is you don't even have to go live if you don't want to. You can use AI Producer to kind of stitch your show together and have this nice side by side view. And you can actually record it directly to your OneDrive. That can be like an output for it. And whenever I've done that, it is like a beautiful, crisp 1080p. Somehow, in my own experience, somehow that recording was higher quality than what I saw with my own eyes in the meeting. So like what the output is was just like fantastic looking just from my own experience. So so yeah, I've seen it as quite an improvement over the quality itself. Whenever we're talking about just like the raw audio and video, it looks good and it sounds really good. So, but yeah, it'd be great if we could figure out how to kind of like monitor any of those individual things. There is, I'm looking at the admin portal right now. There is some statistics. So maybe we'll be able to play with that once we get a stream going. We can kind of look at the statistics, see if there's anything inside of there. So, from an administrator standpoint, I wanted to point out kind of how you get this thing going. The way that you add AI Producer or you add some of this intelligence to your Teams meeting or live event is through a meeting app. So if you've ever had a Teams meeting and you've added like a poll to your meeting, or you've added, some other application to it. There's one that I want to talk about in an upcoming video that Chris Hord showed in a blog post about YouTube. You can add a YouTube app right now, and then you could like play back video. If you've ever added one of those applications, AI Producer is surfaced up to your users as a meeting application that they can add. But there's a service component of this, right? They maintain Azure resources, you pay a subscription, and then you can interact with their admin portal. So this is what it looks like. It's called portal.aiproducer.com. You log in with your 365 account through single sign-on, and then this is where you can like assign licenses, so you can dole out who in your company can produce these live events, who's an administrator, who's just a regular user. You can set up some custom layouts, which we'll talk about here after the initial demo. We'll go full autopilot, and then I'll show you like some of the custom layouts that you can make. Something that's grayed out, but I saw mentioned also in the licensing, is there's going to be additional cameras. I'm not quite sure what this means, Andy, if it's going to mean something like NDI
Mhm.
inputs or some other type of input. You probably heard my doorbell go off. Somebody's at the front door. Statistics, we
Amazon.
talked about that. Rundowns is something that I definitely want to cover, Andy, is the ability to create something called a rundown or segment out your show. And we're going to show this off after the initial demo. Is what if you've got like a town hall that you run every quarter, and it's always got the same 5-minute intro, a little bit of like, awards or looking back at the last quarter, a big like meaty presentation, and then Q&A at the end. If you always have that structure, you can create what's called a rundown in AI Producer, and then it will auto switch between those different phases, or you can move on to the other phase, and it basically keeps your agenda rolling. There's a bunch of settings we'll poke into, and then proxy stuff, which I totally just don't understand, to be honest. So I've looked at that a little bit, but we'll definitely dive more into like the layouts, the rundowns, the settings. And if you're a Teams administrator, the way that you present this to your employees is you sign up for, a trial, or you sign up for a subscription. You go through that is an Azure application or the Azure marketplace available in your tenant. You have to go in and do a couple of steps. So like I'm going to show this guide that they sent me when they sent me the demo trial. Is you have to go in as a tenant administrator, and then you'll go into the Teams admin center, and you'll basically review the permissions on behalf of your organization, and you'll accept some permissions like, hey, I consent that they can read my user information, like the name, the email address, things like that. So as you go through, you consent to those things, then you can make that app available to those users. So there's some like instructions that they sent there. I already did that in my MVP tenant. So the last thing that I had to do was search for AI Producer in the Teams Admin Center under Manage Applications. If you search for like AI Producer, this is the application. You just have to go through and actually allow that, publish it to your users, pick who you want to see it. I just did everybody in a global policy so that my little test tenant could see it. But you can pick who can use this app and who can't, because that's a Teams function. So that's kind of how you get it in your environment. And then once it's available inside your environment, um, you can just schedule a meeting like a normal meeting. I see one question here from Daryl. We need to keep this in mind, Andy, is we'll check out the call health while we're
Yep.
inside the meeting. We'll see like what am I receiving and what am I sending when it comes to my camera. That's a good tip, Daryl. So I'm going to schedule one of these. We'll get it actually going. So let's say that at 2 o'clock, we're going to have a meeting, and we want to have some of this extra AI spice on our meeting stage. So I'm going to create a new meeting. We'll call this like AI Producer Demo. Real exciting stuff. And then I'm going to add a few attendees so that it becomes like, right, a Teams meeting. So I'm going to add like Megan. Actually, that's Megan in my tenant. I'm going to add Andy instead because I've got Andy in here. I've got him in here as this is an external person. The other one is I gave him account in my tenant. And then let me go over to my notes real quick. I'm going to grab Megan Bowen from my demo tenant. So here is Megan Bowen's email address as like a totally external person. She's not even a guest in my tenant. So we're going to create this meeting. It's going to be great. We're going to go for an hour and I'm going to send that meeting out. So, like always, it creates the meeting, it adds all the team's info. Once it's available, it's lit up in the calendar. I can open it up and get it full screen here again. And then this is where you add applications, right? So, in the past, like maybe you've added breakout rooms, you can configure those early. We've had live streams about that before. Maybe you're going to require registration, turn this into a webinar if you want to. But I'm going to go and click the plus sign at the very top there and then I'm going to search for the AI producer application. And we're going to add this as a meeting app to our meeting. And you could do this like in the meeting too, if you wanted to. So we're going to save that and it's going to load up this kind of UI for me to kind of walk through a wizard and decide like, okay, what type of show, how aggressive do you want the switching to be, all of that type of stuff. So it loads up with a few template ideas and I've got basically 3 templates or I can pick one of my rundowns that I have. And if I zoom in a little bit on this, I don't think I can get it to zoom in too much, but there's a presentation one right here. And this is you're going to have one presenter at a time and a shared screen. So you've got like a person next to their content. Maybe you're going to have a panel discussion. So you'd have up to 4 presenters on screen and a shared screen. Or you're going to have a talk show. So you don't have content that you're going to show. You're just going to have up to 4 people automatically on screen, off screen, depending on who's talking and who's showing some stuff. So I can pick between one of these 3. And I think, Andy, it might be easiest to show. Let's do like the panel discussion. We'll just
Yeah.
pick that one. So I'm going to go in the middle. I'm going to have up to 4 people on screen and some content. And it knows who's been invited to this meeting, right? I've got myself, my R4 client. I've got Andy who's in my environment, Andy who's external, he's a guest, and Megan Bowen who's totally external. I've just got her email. And now I can decide who I want to show and what role I want to give them. So along the bottom here, I don't know why I can't get my mouse cursor. There we go. Along the bottom here, you got I'm a producer. Andy is a participant. So you've got roles kind of like you've got in your Microsoft Teams live event experience, if you're familiar with that. So I can select and I can like upgrade Andy to also be a producer. And then now he can show elements on screen. He can override the AI, change things up, put a break message, that type of cool stuff. And then the last thing I can do, or the next thing I can do, is I can choose whether or not I want to show the person's name underneath their little like window. Do I want it to say Andy? Do I want it to say John or not? I think I'm going to leave that unchecked because I want it to have little name tags on it, but you could choose to show that or not. And then you have to select at least 2 presenters for this particular template because you've got up to 4 people on screen. You're going to be showing a presentation. So the way that you select who can show on screen is you can select, just pick their name right there. So you click on their box. And now I've got the content plus 3 people on screen. And this is good if you've got a team of people who are doing like, all right, John is going to be a producer. He's not presenting, so don't ever show his face on screen. You can just not select John, and then you don't have to worry about him ever showing up on the feed. So I could choose that and have him available, or I can choose to like exclude him. He's just moderating Q&A. Let's not show him on screen. So I'm just going to have everybody, and I'm going to hit next. And then there's some branding available as well. So you can choose a background image, or and you can choose a logo as well. So you've got a background and you've got what's called a bug. If you've ever done like live streaming before, that little like NBC logo or whatever, like in the corner, that's called a bug. So you can pick what your bug is if you want, or omit it entirely. I've got my little like happy bearded icon guy, so I'm gonna leave that. And then because Andy and I we're MVPs, we want to humble brag that a little bit. We'll pick the MVP background so that that will show up as our branded experience behind our overlays. So we're going to hit next there, and then this is the tempo. How fast or aggressive do you want it to switch between the presenters? Do you want it to be very slow so that like it's not, anticipating somebody talking and jumping to them right away? Do you want it to jump to them very fast because this is going to be like an argument, or we're going to have like hot takes? So you want it to go really fast, or do you want it to just kind of be normal speed? I'm just going to go middle of the road because I haven't ever seen a problem with it switching too fast or too slow, but your mileage may vary there. So we're going to hit next there. And then this is where's the output? So do I want it to go to this particular meeting? Do I want to choose another Teams meeting? Is something I can do. I can build another Teams webinar, which is it's going to create a meeting and add a registration to it. Do I want to save the recording to my OneDrive? Do I only want to save to my OneDrive and not live stream anywhere? And then outside of the 365 environment, maybe I want to just bring it together in 365, but I want to display it. My audience will be in YouTube, or they'll be on Yammer or some other platform that uses RTMP. So I could hit external and then I could just paste in any RTMP address in here. I could go to Twitch. I could go to whatever. If I was going to Yammer, I could paste in my Yammer RTMP URL. If I go to YouTube, I've pre-configured this in the settings for the AI producer admin center. So you don't have to like hand out your YouTube credentials to everybody in your company. You can just give them access to the company YouTube channel. Then they can select that. So I think I'm going to do that, Andy. Let's do YouTube. Set it to my YouTube channel, John's YT, and then I also want to save it to OneDrive. So I'm going to record it and post it out to YouTube. Um, if I just click on these real quick, though, like I take off YouTube, this is what Microsoft Teams meeting options are. Is I can either create a new one, and then the application is going to create a new calendar invite at the same time as this one, and then it's going to send this feed over to that meeting. If you want to separate your meetings out, you can schedule a meeting. So say that you've got like a shared calendar and you create a meeting, it's got an E5 license, and you have a Teams meeting URL. You can paste that URL in there so that you could send out a meeting from a shared mailbox, and then you could have AI producer feeding in the content, which is kind of interesting. Or you can select an existing one. So if I had another meeting on my calendar at this time, I could select from a drop down. It would read my own calendar and it would offer up that existing meeting. Yeah, Daryl says, yeah, be careful because he might watch my other stream. Yeah, we're going to see that. We tested this out 2 days ago where I can actually stream multiple times to the same YouTube channel. So that's pretty cool. But
We're
we'll pick
dangerous.
YouTube because it's easy. Yeah, we're dangerous here. And we're going to save to OneDrive as well. So we're going to hit next. This is all of our settings, right? I've got these people as producers. These folks are who's going to be on screen. I'm going medium tempo and I'm going out to YouTube. And you can even change your invitation that's going to be sent to the presenters to let them know, hey, this is what's going on. Contact whoever for more details if you've got questions. You could like add your email address for your production team or whatever, but I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to hit OK. So we've now scheduled this. The settings are all configured inside of AI Producer. So the next thing to do, Andy, is let's just join this meeting, right?
Yep.
Did I miss anything?
Think you
I
got
don't
it.
think I
And
did.
while you
Okay.
were in process of doing that, I'll just bring this up.
Mhm.
I did link to the quick start guide for some
Mm,
instructions on how
okay.
to go through some of the setup for those of you that are joining in remote. If you're on YouTube, it's in the chat. And if you're watching this video, now you have the link on screen and you can go and follow that.
Mhm.
But I'm going to get,
Yeah, they've got nice, like, step-by-step instructions as I kinda, like, stumbled through it, and explain what I've seen in the past. The other thing I noticed that happened here, Andy, is when I scheduled this, that welcome message, it actually posted it in the chat as
yeah,
well. And this is kinda cool. You've got a little tips button. So if I click on that, I wanna see what opens here. So here's a tip. Before going live, check the location lighting and make sure it's ideal. Let's see if it gives me another tip. Yeah, remember PowerPoint must be shared as a window. PowerPoint Live is not supported yet. That's a good tip. So FYI, you can't do PowerPoint Live when you're using this. As a limitation of that broadcast development kit. So that's kind of cool. You get like random tips. So I've seen somebody has joined this meeting. They're 20 seconds in. I'm going to go ahead and join it myself. And what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and make the speaker my headphones. I'm going to use my Logi dock for my microphone, and then my camera. I'll turn on my camera. I do want to turn on my microphone though, because it's going to use the microphone to decide who to show on screen. So we're going to join that. I'm going to flip over to Megan Bowen because we've invited her. She is external to this tenant. So she's the guest speaker, right? We're going to load up her calendar and she's going to join this meeting as well here. So there's her AI producer. It's live. So she's going to join that meeting. And it's a little bit hard to demo with these fake bots that I've got, all these like little virtual machines, because they don't have any audio. I have her video, but you're not going to see it switch to her very often because she's not saying anything verbally. So FYI. But she's going to join the meeting. And then there's what it looks like. We've got Andy, he's in here twice. Pretend that's two different people. And then I'm in here with my camera in the bottom corner. Megan is there having some other conversation. She's multitasking. So we've got our meeting ready to go. What do we do from here? How do we actually get this thing live? Well, that's going to be the meeting app right here at the top. So in the past, if you've ever clicked apps and you've added an application to your meeting before, like a meeting poll or something like that, AI Producer is there like one of those meeting apps. So we're going to click on that. It's going to open up this pane and load up the controls for AI Producer. So you can see what's available to the audience is nothing right now because I'm not live on my YouTube channel, but this broadcast is not ready yet. So here soon, hopefully, we'll see this button will light up after like the YouTube stuff is prepared. And I'll be able to click start broadcast, and then it will spin up the YouTube live event, and then it will start doing its auto switching and all of that. So hopefully this shows up here in a second. Maybe we joined a little bit too early, but while that's saying please wait, why don't we go through some of these other buttons if you want, Andy, and kind of click through like what they do. So we'll go from top to bottom here. I noticed that there's this little caret over the preview. So if I click on that, I can hide the preview or show it. I would want to see what it looks like to my audience. So I think I would always keep that up. This is where you would start and stop your broadcast, that big purple button. The break screen, whenever we're live, you can actually click on that and it will replace your live show with like a placeholder screen that says we're taking a short break, be back soon. And you could customize that. You can decide if you're taking a 1 minute break, a 10-minute break, a 5-minute break, whatever. And then it will automatically count that down and then take you back to your show. Then you can send a message. This is a pretty powerful feature. I can click the caret and I can say that I'm going to send messages to the participants or message to the viewers themselves. I'm not sure, Andy, like if that would post to the YouTube channel as a comment or what. I'm pretty certain that what would happen is if we were going to a Teams meeting as our destination, it would just show a pop up for everybody. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. Here's some instructions. But I'm not sure what it does for like YouTube or RTMP because you wouldn't have a way, especially with RTMP, you wouldn't have a way to send a message out to that destination because it's just simple RTMP.
Right.
But for the participants in this meeting, this is kind of cool, is I can click who I want to display a message to and what I want to say. So if like say Megan is talking right now and I see she's muted right there, I can select Megan. So I've lit her up and I'll do check audio. So I can click on that button and then hit send, and it sent this message to Megan. So if I flip over to Megan's screen, she gets this thing that says, "Hey, John is messaging you." And then she can show that message and it says check audio. So that came up inside of her Teams window to check her audio, and then she'll remember to unmute herself. So you can send messages to your presenters kind of like around the side a little bit and not bother the other people in the meeting. And you could
So,
do custom stuff too.
interesting note about that.
Yeah.
I see in the chat window for both my internal and external user that you sent a message to Megan. I don't see what the message is, but it tells me in the chat window that you did
Oh, really?
send a message to Megan.
Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting. Keep that aware if you've got your audience inside of the same meeting that you're doing your production from. I think that might be a reason why you would say, "Hey, I'm going to pick another meeting to have be like where my audience is, and then I'm going to have like the crew inside of like a master live event meeting." So yeah, that would be a good reason to maybe separate your audience out.
That was one of the use cases that I think we were discussing when we were doing some
Mhm.
testing on this was the if you run it as 2 separate meetings, you have one meeting where you're producing everything, and then the other meeting where you're
Mhm.
broadcasting over. That acts kinda like a green room for the people that are in the production meeting. So,
Mhm.
they can have their communications between one another, and we can minimize the communications spilling over into the other meeting. Think
Mhm.
about, like, an executive board meeting. We want all the board in one meeting, and then we're gonna broadcast
Mhm.
over to the press in the other meeting, and now we can keep some of those communications separate.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point. You can kinda keep that chat to a minimum for what's exposed to the press side or whatever your audience is. I went into the settings here. I can even change the layout if I want. So, like, if this panel layout isn't going to be the right thing, I can flip it over to presentation instead and pick new people if I want to, or a panel discussion or a talk show. So I could change some of that stuff. I can even change the logo on the fly. So we'll show what that looks like. But I can't. It still says it's not starting. So I think I'm going to leave this meeting and we're gonna go back in. I think I might have started the meeting too soon and YouTube wasn't ready. So let me end this meeting for everybody and let's try it again, see if it's ready for us to broadcast. So I've ended this meeting. Everybody's kicked out. We're gonna go in and rejoin the meeting. Hopefully it was just a timing issue. It still says please wait. Maybe there's something wrong with my YouTube side of things. Let's join this one. Okay, so it's not working for some reason. It just says, please wait still. So why don't we see, Andy? Should we see if we can change the destination on an existing meeting and just
Yeah,
go to like a Teams meeting instead?
let's try and break it.
Okay, yeah, let's get out of that and then let's go back in to adjust some of our stuff. So we'll go in, we'll edit this meeting. There's AI producer up at the top and it's telling me to add an app. I already did that, Teams. Um, and now how do I edit It doesn't look like I can edit the settings on this. Oh, I can hit back. There we go. So if I hit back, now I'm back into the settings and I could go back further, right? Yeah, so I can change all of this stuff by stepping backwards. So instead of YouTube, which it unselected the channel, instead of that, let's do a Teams meeting and let's have it create a new Teams meeting. How about that? So we'll hit next and then now we'll hit OK. Let's see if it creates the meeting for me. Hopefully it will. Awesome. Now it is saved. Sit back and wait. There we go. So the app created a meeting called Watch and then the name of the meeting. So we can create, or we've got two things going here. I'm going to invite somebody to this other meeting right here because like there's nobody that has access to this. So I'm going to add like Nestor to it, or you know what? Let's add Alex because I've got a second virtual machine running over here for Alex Wilbur. He's going to be our participant. So how about we do that? So let me grab the email here, and it's not Megan, it's Alex W. So he's going to be invited to the meeting as a person who's watching the meeting.
I wonder if AI producer can help us keep track of all of our virtual machines and virtual attendees that we're inviting to all these meetings.
Yeah, that would be nice because it gets a little bit haphazard when I've got all these extra windows going. Okay,
Which
so
screen
let's
do I look at?
join the
What
meeting
meeting am I
as
in?
a master, right? It gets a little bit crazy when I've got like I think I've got 6 virtual machines with different people logged into them. So I could be Alex, I could be Nestor, I could be Miriam. All right, so Megan's going to join. John is joined. Oh, it still says please wait. Dang it. Well, that's not working. Even for that one. I probably should have made sure that this would work past Tuesday whenever we tried this thing out.
I wonder if it's due to the scheduled time because we're a few minutes short of the scheduled time. I wonder if that has something to do with it.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, you want to look at that? Let's try that. Let me kick everybody out into the meeting.
I just got
let's
my
see
screen
if we
set up again.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
as I just moved
No
it on you.
worries.
Okay, yeah, so let's move the time up. What happens here if I set 1:30 to 2:30? Send an update. It moved that meeting, but it didn't move the watch meeting. So let's change that one. So that's something to be aware of if you're like the organizer for this. I do have a join button now. So it's like you're in the time slot. So it's like, hey, you should join your meeting that's running. So let's do that. And then do AI producer. And still says please wait. So I think Andy's joining. Let's get Megan joined in here. If not, maybe we'll start over and just do this again. Oh, there we go. Now it's offering to start the broadcast. Probably because more than 2 people joined, or at least 2 people joined. So it's my layout's doing something weird. I'm gonna switch to together mode and switch back to gallery. So it must have been that time, Andy. It must have been we were outside of the window, right? So
Right.
it didn't want to start. Okay, well that's good to know. Okay, let's start the broadcast. Actually, let's join Alex. Let's join his meeting and see what he sees before the broadcast is available. I think he's just going to be in a meeting by himself. Come on, Alex. Did you get the invite? Loading your calendar. There it is. All right. So Alex is going to watch the AI producer demo. and he's got a camera as well. No microphone for him. So the other thing, I think, if you're being like, taking mental note of like what to do because you're an organizer, the other thing you probably should do is you probably should go into this meeting invite and change your settings so that like Alex is not a presenter, because you don't want like Alex to take over the broadcast, right? You don't want him to take over the screen and unmute his mic and all that. You probably want to go disable that because, you're doing a little bit more of an organized event. So back over on my screen, I'm going to start the broadcast because Alex is just by himself. It's like, let me clean up some of these windows here. So Alex is right there on screen. He's alone. And we are in the little like green room. We're in like our separate meeting right here. So we're going to start the broadcast and see what happens to Alex. So the broadcast is starting. It says stop broadcast. And here shortly, I think it should join the AI producer bot, or application should join this meeting and start presenting. Or did we mess this up and it's going out to YouTube right now? Where do you think this is at? Let's check my YouTube channel. Hey, my buddy Austin Habel's here. Hey, Austin, it's good to see you, man. I haven't talked to you in a long time. So, Austin runs the team at Cerner of the broadcast production team.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. All right, let's see here. Yep. So, my fault. I messed up. It's going out to YouTube right now. So, yay, there's YouTube. So it's live. Let's open that up from my YouTube studio. And there we are. Okay, got to mute myself because I can hear myself twice. So I'm live. I've got this content. This is from AI Producer because check this out. There's my logo. There's that logo bug in the top corner. Now, if I go back into the meeting and I share my screen, right? So like, let's say Megan is going to start presenting and she's going to share her screen. Let's clean up her window. So she's sharing her screen in the meeting. Over on YouTube, we should hopefully see, there we go. It switched over to Megan's screen because she started broadcasting her screen. Now, Andy, if you start talking, we should see multiple people of us show up on the screen with our content along next to it, and it should start doing its auto switching. There we go. So it auto switched to all three of us across the bottom. There's the content. It went back over to the content, probably because I paused talking for a little bit, but it's doing its auto switching, and you can see the preview of it right here in the upper corner. So Andy, I'm gonna let you talk for a second. We'll see it change the layout here.
Yeah, I can talk. Been known to talk too much every now and then. And I am in the process of trying to say enough words to get it to switch over. I wonder if it needs, I know. All right, let me do this. So
oh yeah, Daryl. The second stream is a unlisted one. It looks like. Yeah, it's unlisted. So let me change that for you. Why do I hear myself twice?
that's because I have to turn on my
Oh, you're monitoring?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I've just made it public, Daryl. So now you're going to see that second one pop up. If you guys are on my YouTube channel, you'll see that second one there. So we've got that going now. While while Andy's doing that next setup, why don't I show how the chat works, the user chat? So this is something that I discovered that's really cool is I can bring the questions from YouTube into Microsoft Teams. So like Daryl actually, hey, I was here during John and Andy's live stream. Hey Daryl, thanks. 2 L's. Oh my gosh. Thanks for joining. I can do that. I can send that. So now there's 2 chat messages inside the YouTube chat. If I go back over to the Teams window, make it bigger, then the viewer questions, hopefully, will start coming in right here. And then I can display those questions on the screen in the broadcast while we answer them. So a lot like how StreamYard or Restream, those other applications work. I hope I didn't. I feel like I'm doing a bad job demonstrating this because like I like changed the destination halfway through, so I might have broken like the user questions or something. Um, Another thing we can do is we can override the AI over here, Andy. So we're choosing to use the AI right now. If I wanted to, though, I could click on just the like one up view and change it that way, or I could change it to show 2 people side by side. So I want to force me and Megan and hit save. There we go. Now I've forced it to be that layout on YouTube. And there you go. It updated over there on YouTube. So you can let the AI figure it out, which is great. It's a little bit hard to demo because I don't have multiple people talking in the Teams meeting. So it wants to be stuck on me. But I can
Right.
choose different people. See, like it's going to highlight just me for that. Or I can show just the content. If I click on that, it should show just the content. There we go. And I can go back here, show me and Andy, save changes. Now I've forced that layout. And in what, 3 or 4 seconds, it should switch to, there we go. There's our forced layout.
I think I've got the audio set up on my other
Mhm.
user, so we can test that out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. So you should be coming, if I use AI again, now hopefully it will cycle through the 2 of us and the screen, right? So
Yep.
Daryl has a theory on YouTube. He's saying, "Hey, start typing on the screen and see if that affects the layout on here." So let's go. I have just like this tiny little screen. Let's go here, and Megan's screen is active right now, and we see that that's full screen on top over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing Notepad while you say some stuff.
Yeah, so while you're pulling up Notepad, I am talking as my second user in the meeting, Andy. I don't know which Andy account this is, but I am speaking into the microphone. It is registering. This is the Rode NT USB Mini. It's a pretty awesome USB microphone. I've really enjoyed my time with it, but I'm using it on my second user right now to see how that is affecting the AI producer broadcast.
Okay, so it basically stayed on the screen the entire time while you were talking.
Yeah.
It didn't switch back and forth, and it might be that what we can do is we can go from medium to high sensitivity and have it like switch faster. We can see how that works, but it looks like it's wanting to stay on Megan's screen right there.
I wonder if that's
So
because screen share, like content is being
possibly, but I've
shared.
seen it cycle around a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I just saw you full screen because you were saying something.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like it's very aggressive, if you will. So let's go change that. We can go into the settings. We can scroll down here, and this is that production tempo, right? Slow, medium, or fast. Let's change it to fast because if this isn't high energy, Andy, I don't know what is. Um, all right, so we changed it to high energy, and it switched over now to Megan. It switched to me because I'm talking. I'm gonna shut up and let you talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring Daryl's message up on the screen. So, our shared hypothesis is it prioritizing the shared content over my voice? So, Megan's content
Mhm.
is being shared. I am talking as my second user. It looks like it
Mhm.
is registering. So, I
Yeah,
will.
it looks like it's definitely doing a better job of switching between. Whenever, like, somebody else starts talking, it picked up faster and wanted to kind of force that new display a little bit quicker. I'm not muted, am I? Okay, so I'm not muted. The Teams meeting can hear me.
Yeah.
This is gonna be the craziest looking, OneDrive recording. So it's just, like, talking randomly. So, um, so yeah, I think I'll just override the AI, make it look how I want it to, force us on screen, and then just kinda, like, keep that layout. Honestly, I probably would use this layout most of the time, and do it that way. If you've got like a traditional, all right, we're going to have this person on screen, then we're going to have the presentation with the guest presenter, then we're going to bring them both on screen. You probably would want to kind of plan that out. So we'll talk about that next with the rundown. I want to test that out, Andy. Um, but I've got us forced on screen. I don't see any questions yet. I might have broken that. The last thing I want to check before we maybe abandon this particular meeting is the mute option. If I click mute, so it says that I'm muted. It didn't actually mute the meeting, but it looks like it might have just muted my feed. I was wondering if it would like, select somebody else to mute. That would be kind of nice if I could remotely mute somebody as a producer. But so there we go. Um Yeah, you wanna try a rundown and try doing,
Sure.
YouTube again? See if we can get the viewer questions to work?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Let's end the meeting. Hit end. Then Alex, he's been by himself this whole time, poor guy. And that should kill this. Yeah, it just went to, like, spinning, saying, "Oh, no, it's broken." Okay, so let's go back into my Teams client. So there's Microsoft Teams. And let's cancel this. Let's get rid of these because I messed them all up. So now it's after 2 o'clock. We can do a 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock presentation. We're going to do testing YouTube comments in Teams. And then we're going to add everybody back in. So we've got Megan. Actually, there's Megan. We've got Andy and Andy again. And we're going to send this out. And we'll select YouTube again, and then we'll see if we can get comments to work. Um, Actually, let's do it as a rundown, right? That's what we wanted to kind of see. So before I configure this, I want to show you guys what it looks like to create a rundown template because remember I was talking about say that you're going to do a town hall and you're going to have like 5-minute executive welcome and then you're going to have like a 30-minute like so and so from some other org is going to come share a presentation and then you're going to do 15 minutes of Q&A and then you're going to peace out, you're going to be done. That would be a rundown, a structured event. So we're going to go into the rundown and you can create a rundown or select one from a template. You can save these as templates. So we're going to do a new rundown by clicking at the bottom. We're going to call this thing Town Hall, quarterly Town Hall, because we'll do them like once a quarter. We want to publish this out to our users so that we have like a structured quarterly town hall for all of the organizations. So segment number one, we'll say that that's the executive welcome. And what layout do we want that to be? So we can have that be a presentation show. It would be a person with like the presentation next to them. Talk show is just going to be just people. Panel discussion is going to be multiple people with a presentation. And then check out these grayed out ones that are coming soon still. One of them that I'm the most excited about is video. So, the guy that I know from AI producer George, he said that this isn't ready yet. It's going to be launching here pretty shortly, but you would be able to point that section at a video presentation and then play that video as part of your rundown. I think this would be great for having a pre-show video and a post-show, like thanks for watching video, like what we do on this live stream. You could have a pre-show that has like a countdown timer, has some music, has some like pictures that you want to cycle through for your town hall. Create that video, make it like 10 minutes long, and then select that video as your first thing. There's your pre-show. And then when it gets to the end of that video, then do your executive welcome. But we're going to start with just an executive welcome, and it's going to be just medium. Yes, we want to have branding on it, and we want this to be like 5 minutes, right? So I can drag that down 5 minutes for the executive welcome. We're going to add a segment, and this is going to be like guest presentation, and that's going to be a presentation format. We're going to shift from me, the VP, talking about this is great, we've got this person coming, to we're going to have Andy, the guest, with his cool slide deck talking about what he wants to talk about. And we're going to give him, I don't know, like 35 minutes. Or no, let's give him 40 minutes to talk, because then we're up to 45 minutes, right? Last, we're going to do Q&A, and that is going to be a talk show, right? We're just going to show me and the guest for 15 minutes. We're going to do a Q&A, and then we're going to get out of here and be done. So there you go. I've got a 60-minute presentation. You got 5 minutes for the welcome, 40 minutes for the presentation, and then 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. I think that says 16. 15. There we go. So got my meeting. I'm going to go ahead and save that as a quarterly town hall. And then this will be available to my users to select from that menu. So you only have to do that once. So let's go back in. I've got my town hall created. I'm going to add a meeting application, AI producer, add the app, click yes. I totally want to add this application. And then once that loads up, we're going to select a rundown. So rather than selecting one of these templates, I'm going to pick the rundown from my list. There's my quarterly town hall. Here's the structure. You got 5 minutes, 40 minutes, 15 minutes. We're going to hit next. And who's going to be the speakers? Well, that's going to be me, Andy, and Megan. We'll just say that. Actually, let's just select them all. Who cares? So now this is pretty cool. It's going to go through each segment and say, who do you want to be part of that segment? So for the executive welcome, say that I'm the executive. So I want it to be just me on screen. I'm the only one with my little background and my little logo. That looks great. For the guest presentation, that's Andy. So we're going to add Andy to this. So it's going to be Andy on screen with his presentation. And then for the Q&A, that's a talk show. There's no content. It's just two people on screen. We're going to have Andy. He's the guest. He goes first. And then me on screen. So the two of us. So we've got our rundown configured. We're going to save this to OneDrive. We're going to YouTube it to my YouTube channel. And then we're going to hit next. So then now it gives you like this little preview of what your show is going to look like. You're going to have John with stuff, Andy with stuff, and then John and Andy side by side. So there's what that all looks like. This is the invitation, right? That's going to go out to the presenters. Check that out. It even has the agenda right there saying John is going to be the executive welcome for 5 minutes. Andy's going to guest present for 40. The two of them are going to be on screen for the last 15 minutes for Q&A. So it even gives you the agenda. We'll hit OK. We'll get that thing scheduled. And then let's look at the comments over here. Daryl, thank you so much again for the super chat for for that. I really appreciate you watching, especially so early for you, man. It's probably what, like 6 a.m. or something for you, because you're like 2 hours ahead of Australia time, I think. Yeah, agenda driven rundown. I think this is really cool. Sticking to an agenda. Yeah, we'll see what happens here, Daryl. If they get the ability to like switch that before it goes to the next segment. So, Andy, you want to kick this off? See what happens?
All right.
Or are you
So
already in the meeting?
not yet.
Okay.
Let's get my fancy PowerPoint set up.
Oh, cool. So you're going to share your screen. Yeah, we'll see how that looks. So you've joined Megan. She's part of this crazy, chaotic experience. So we're going to let her join the meeting too. Why not? And she will never show on screen at all because I haven't selected her as a presenter. So she's just going to hang out. We'll say that she's the Q&A moderator, right? That's her role for this little example. So Megan's in, everybody's in. And Andy is sharing his screen. We've got all of our people lined up, right? We're in pre-show right now. Everybody look good. Everybody's, excited about our cool town hall. We're going to hit start broadcast now and we're going to go live. So let's do that. Now we are live. We have content on screen. There's no like starting up on this. Like you would want to start with a video. I'm on screen right now with Andy's content. He happens to be, the guest presenter. So I'm on screen using the AI mode. Hey everybody, I'm Mr. Director. I'm really excited to welcome you to our town hall. We got Andy Honeycutt today. He's going to do a great presentation about people's hands on a table. It's going to be fantastic. let's refresh our YouTube, and there's the live event is now live. So testing YT comments for everybody's benefit. We're going to make that bad boy public, and we're going to open it up, see what it looks like. So this is in progress right now. You would, go schedule your live event and, advertise it and talk about how cool it's going to be. But there we go. We're live right now. I'm the only one who can possibly show up on screen along with content because I have locked that in using the rundown. We're in this section of the presentation right now, and it looks like there's a pencil icon. So I can edit that. So maybe I want to edit this so that it's a talk show and I want it to be just me. Well, that wants to show two people. Let's go back. Let's try to get it to where it's just me on screen. I think for that one, we might want to have, I think for that one, we'd want to create a custom layout that only shows just a single camera. But that's what that looks like. Now, to answer part of Daryl's question about what about override, I can still override this and I can say, nope, just show John on screen for his executive welcome. So now this is going to be stuck on me for the duration of this segment right now. And this is interesting. Check this out. It's hard because I moused over it, but you see the green bar, and then you see below it, there's like a section. That's my rundown at a glance. So you see those little white lines? That's where we're running up on the first white line, where the next thing in 2 minutes and 26 seconds is that it's going to switch to the guest presentation layout. Yeah, Daryl. I don't know about you. I've never seen an executive run over on their welcome. They never get long winded. So I want to see here in 2 minutes, is that going to switch automatically or not? But it's stuck on me. On YouTube, you should still just see only me because I've overridden it. Now, another thing I noticed, Andy, is check this out. We've got comments.
There they
So
are.
Daryl says booyah, and Daryl says John, sticking it to his AI driven agenda. So check this out. I can click show in broadcasts. And then now, if you look up here on the preview, whoop, I hate when I mouse over that. It comes up. Check it out. My comment is on screen from Teams, and it's a YouTube comment. If we go over there, there it is. Daryl's channel name, Booyah, as a comment. Hey, Daryl, that's a great question. I'm Mr. Executive going to answer your question, make you feel special by showing your name on screen while I answer your question. This is what I have been asking Microsoft for like 2 years. That like I think it's fantastic if you can show the question on screen in a broadcast from Teams. I I really would love if they just made that native. So in 48 seconds, it's going to switch to the next section. We're going to do show this in the broadcast. And Daryl says, I feel heard. So this is pretty cool. I think that's one of my favorite features because I have wanted that inside of Teams forever. Anybody who's on the Teams product group, if you're ever watching this video, what I want is put that button, please put this button show in broadcast in Teams Q&A. I want to be able to show from the Q&A on the stage so that I can like highlight a comment for the benefit of the people watching the recording later. I think it's very powerful to have the comment right there. So there we go. So it says that I have run over at this point. So I imagine, yeah, now I'm over 10 seconds. So it is not automatically switched, Daryl. It is just stuck on me according to this. So I think what we're going to do is click on this. Maybe it will switch over to Andy with his screen. Oh, I hit the play button. Are you sure you want to start this segment? Yes. There we go. So now it is switched over. I'm still talking, so you can still hear my audio, but I should not show on screen anymore at this point, right? Oh, there's a button right there to go to the next segment too. I'm dumb. I missed the big purple button. So Andy, it should show you side by side with your content and kind of go back and forth, right?
Yeah, so there is my content. So that is pulled up
Mhm.
inside of there. I'm just sharing my desktop, so you should be able to see that as I move through the content. Just curious. So there's a little bit of latency with it. Not a lot,
Mhm.
but a couple seconds as I'm moving through.
Yeah, kind of normal YouTube latency from what I've noticed.
Yeah. I'm
So something that
curious.
I've noticed here is where's my settings at? Because I can't make it more aggressive. I guess what I would do is I could go to the rundown and I could edit this section right here because I want this to be like more aggressive. So we're going to change you to fast, and now it should hopefully be more aggressive on switching between you and your content.
All right. So
Yeah, and it stayed that way. I didn't have to press save or anything like that. What is this button right here? Oh, that just is like details. So the little bullets are details.
all right, so I am presenting. I should have the mic enabled for that particular user. Um, I'm presenting my screen and my content. What is that looking
Mhm.
like on the YouTube side of the house? Is it switched over to me as I'm broadcasting?
No, it's still just showing your screen. It's not
Yeah, just
switching back
sharing
and forth.
the shared content.
Yeah. But I could go in here and override the AI and force you on screen. And because you are identified as the presenter for this section,
Right.
actually, you know what? Which account are you using?
This is my Andy external. This is
Oh, you know what? I think I
you,
selected the wrong person. Because yeah, it says AH. Yes, I selected the wrong person. If I did that one, then it would show you. Although we ran into that issue where like it says this person may not appear in the broadcast. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with that, but there's something about
Right.
your guest account doesn't allow you to display on here.
All right. So let's see what happens. So this is Andy external, and there's my content on
It's
the
just
screen.
yeah, staying.
Yeah. All right. So my other user is not joined in the meeting. So let me join in.
Okay, yeah, if you join from the Collab More account, I bet then you're gonna show on screen for me. Oh, yeah. Did you just join?
I did.
Yeah, because you just popped up.
Okay.
Like, immediately. Okay, well, there you go.
All right. So this is me on the other account
Mhm,
and presenting content, which is really interesting because I'm on another computer with audio
mhm,
and video, and then the sharing that's being done by the Andy external account. That's the one
mhm.
sharing inside of the meeting, which is kind of neat.
Hmm,
Like I can move through the slides in the presentation, but the audio is coming from the other Andy over there. Andy looking to the
yeah,
side and not looking at the
and
microphone.
I hear you twice in my ears because I'm
Do you?
hearing you in the meeting and in Restream, so hopefully you
Yeah.
guys aren't getting that echo. I don't think you are, all of our viewers. Wrong Andy. Yeah, I picked the wrong one. So, no, I don't think that's the case, Daryl. I think yeah, I just clicked the wrong person cuz I just switched while Andy was talking. I went to override AI and it was stuck on the side by side. It was stuck on this view. I just went back to AI and gave the AI control, so now I'm hands off and it's going between Andy, his screen and side by side. It's switching between those three views. So yeah. So you still have, manual control over this situation. You can still go in and like change something last minute. But what's cool about the rundown is that you can go select your who's going to be on screen at what point, and then just all you've got to do is be in your rundown and just click next segment when it's the next person's time. So like say that Andy gets done early, right? Andy's done, he's wrapped up. I can just click go to next segment early. And now we're in segment number 3, which is the Q&A, and that's the talk show where it's between me and Andy side by side. And we're using AI, so it's gonna switch between 2 people and 1 person depending on, like, who's talking or showing, like, this kinda round robin approach, which I could override that and say, "Force it to be Andy, force it to be me, save the changes," and now it's the 2 of us on YouTube. So there's the 2 of us. We're coming through Microsoft Teams displayed on YouTube with a bug logo. We got corporate branding. We've got the comment from the peanut gallery. We can put that on screen from the Teams window. Pretty dang powerful.
Yeah.
I can even change the branding on here. So like if I that was back here. If I override the AI, I can change that. I could change to inside the rundown. If I edit this layout, like, oh, I don't want that background, I can change it to the corporate background. And then I think I have to save it. Nope, doesn't look like I have to save. Hopefully it's gonna change there. Oh, save changes at the bottom. Sorry. Once I do that, then it's back over to AI because now it's switching between me and Andy side by side. And my guess is if I force us to be back to talk show mode, side by side view, then we'll see what, yeah, there it is with that new background. So like I had swapped out the background and was able to do that on the fly. So yeah, you're still, really you're still have a lot of control over this experience. So, Sushil, if you're watching this, we actually, I don't know if you can hear me, but we are demoing on another live stream. There was a scheduled live stream on my channel. So if you click on my channel, you can watch that live stream called 365 Deep Dive, and you'll see what we're doing. So what we're doing for the people who might see this is we are doing this is the video feeds and the screen are coming from Teams to YouTube, and it is automatically switching between the layouts because of a meeting application called AI Producer. So that's what we're demoing on there. Yeah, he says, sure, let me move on. So yeah, he's probably going to join us over on our main feed. But yeah, dude, this is working. You know, we got comments working. We got like we can change whatever layout we want. So you could just not do AI if you
Right.
don't, or you can go with a rundown, give control over to the AI. Honestly, I probably would switch to the fast mode. And then, hey man, he's here now. Welcome to our live stream. um, but you could just not do the AI, or you could give it control, schedule your rundown. Like probably what you're seeing as we stumble through this is you need to plan out your show, right? Like work out the kinks, do some practice, you know, get the hang of it. But man, you could, if you got a good scheduled rundown template, you could like publish this to executive admins who aren't necessarily technical, and you could say, hey, here's your template for your quarterly town halls, go nuts. And then they could use AI Producer to have like a really cleanly broadcasted auto switching show, and everybody's town hall is the same across organizations. I kind of think that like if I were like licensing this, you know, and I was gonna do a subscription for my small company, I would say probably I would give this to the exec admins, the people who schedule town halls, and probably the broadcast production team. That way, the broadcast production team, they've got all their pro switching and all that equipment, but it would be good for them to have these types of tools so that they could peel out a Teams meeting and separate it into its separate components, right? Go to YouTube, go to Twitter, whatever live streaming platform. But then for the executive admins for like town halls, you could offload that to those admins and not have your broadcast production team have to sit on all of those quarterly town halls where there's like 150 people. Let your broadcast team go focus on the 50,000 person CEO town hall, because you're going to be using, you know, vmix or whatever already for that, right? You're not going to necessarily be using this for your CEO, but you could offload and you could save a lot of resources and scheduling with your own production team through something like this. So that would be the way I kind of view this. And to show some of that as well, we can go into, I think, the settings right here. So say that we were going to do that, Andy. I'm going to split it up. I'm going to give some people like full rights. They can make templates, do all kinds of crazy stuff. But then also, I want to give the admins like a more like closed off experience. I don't want them going out to YouTube, right? Hey, Josh, this is another former Cerner guy. Hey, man, he says he's going to miss Teams. Sorry, dude. I'm not using that in my new world. So what you could do is you can create different groups inside of your AI producer environment. So this is just global, but I could create a new group of like internal only people. And then I could say, all right, let's just do that. It's an Azure AD group. We're going to say that like the US sales team, there are internal people, okay? So, and we're going to have that, we're going to choose an AD group, internal only, if I can type correctly. And we're going to create that AI producer group, kind of lock this down a little bit and create some role-based access control. So for US sales, internal only is my alias that I gave them. I want to, they can't choose the different background. They have to use this background. They have to use this image. So I can choose them to not have these. Then I can also say, all right, they cannot go to YouTube. They cannot go to external. They can only go to another team's meeting or another team's webinar. I'm gonna force that. I will let them to use OneDrive if they want to, and we will. I don't see a save. Oh, there it is. Save. So we're gonna save that, but then I'm gonna create a new group, and we're gonna have this be the what was it? Sales and marketing team. We're gonna call this the external sales team. We're gonna create that. This group is a little bit different. So once this gets created for the external sales, they can't do custom backgrounds. They've got to stick to the corporate standard. But we're going to let them also go to YouTube and external so that they could, go to some other place like our corporate environment. Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to show that stuff yet. On roll.ai producer. We go back into settings. So it didn't save my YouTube account because I'm not under global anymore. But external sales, we'll say they can go to external, but they can't change the logos. We're going to save that. But then my new group that I'm going to say is broadcast team, broadcast pros. That's going to be my global admin. That's going to be like these other people. Like you would have a different group of people, like, I don't know, sample team site. So only that one person's there. We're going to create that group alias. My broadcast pros, they've got full control. So I'm going to let them do a custom logo, a custom background. I'm going to let them go anywhere they want. They can go to LinkedIn, they can go to Facebook. Well, those are grayed out because you have to like authenticate. But I could turn on everything for them. I could give them a custom rundown and layout so they can do everything they need to do. Hit save. And now I've got basically 3 different groups of different levels of permissions of what they can do in AI producer. So personally, just spitballing here, that's what I would do is I would say split it out. I would give some people like internal only town halls. You got to use my template and my corporate branding. Broadcast professionals who I trust a little bit more, they can go external. So that's how I probably would do it. But yeah, so what else is there to talk about with this?
The recording to either like OneDrive or what other locations they offer.
Oh yeah, let's do that. So I've ended this meeting, which should kill that broadcast.
Yep.
Now the next thing we're gonna do is I need to open up a guest account. Browse as guest, portal.office.com. And let's go check my OneDrive. Let's go see if that one recording is ready yet. So let me authenticate over here using my other credentials. Gosh, what did I call this account? John R4. Real unique. John R4 at collabmore.com. This is my FYI, Microsoft. I'm in Ring 4, not showing anything NDA accidentally. My little disclaimer. Okay, I need multi-factor auth. Real entertaining stuff here. John R4 984 526 Boom. MFA. Turn on multi-factor auth, by the way, if you guys aren't using that. Keeps you safe. Okay, so let's go through that. Now, in OneDrive, hopefully we'll have a recording here. So there's a new folder got created. AI Producer is what it's called. And it looks like that one hasn't rendered yet. So, because yeah, what's today's date? Today's the 29th. So this is from our last time we tested this, July 22nd. Probably because we had those running for a long time. They're probably going to be big files. But yeah, I could download this and we can see what it looks like here. This is from our last test. So let's open that up. Wrong screen. So there's my AI producer test. I can hit fast forward. Oh, it's just blank. I must not have shown my camera when I was testing that out. How do I see on here what the resolution is? Because yeah, I wanted to see like info. No. I wanted to see what that resolution is because it should be
Go to the
1080p.
download folders, right click and click info there, see what pops up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. So right click and get info. It's all the way over on my big long screen. Oh, there we go. So it is 1920 by 1080 H.264 AAC audio. It's only a minute and 17 seconds, and that is 101 megabytes on my disk. So it's got to be a pretty high bit rate if it's a minute is taking up 100 megs. Somebody could probably do the math and see what that bit rate is. So but yeah, so that pretty high quality. I guess one thing we didn't test, Andy, is oh my gosh, this is playing NAS reviews because I was searching for Synology stuff. One thing we didn't test, Andy, was the call quality. So maybe
Yep.
we need to go jump back into this meeting, see if we can see the call quality and see what the ingest is. So let's go here and join. Okay. So join now. And we've got a couple people in this meeting, right?
Yep.
There we go. So there's Megan, me, and Andy. Now I can go over here to the call health and we'll take a look at like what's sending and receiving here. So it looks like I'm sending only 360p right now.
Curious because I'm over here sending 720p.
You're sending
at 30
720.
frames a second.
Okay. Oh, and apparently we're broadcasting again. So do I have studio.youtube? Let's go to content. Live. It's not live. So I don't know what's up with that, saying that it's doing it. But over here if I watch the old live stream and then go to quality, we'll see 1080p for that. So it is a 1080p YouTube stream. So the overall output was 1080p. One thing I'm curious about, if I go back to the admin portal, what do the statistics look like? So this is the demo environment, broadcast types. So there's the different types that you've got scheduled. I'm not seeing a whole lot of info in here other than like it'll show you what's coming up. You know, how many things do you have scheduled in the next 24 hours? And then past broadcast info over the past 24 hours. It must not be aware of what I did. But if I go to any time, I've done 5 broadcasts. I've started 4 of them. 4 of them are on OneDrive. Average broadcast time 8 minutes, and then I can see a breakout of like where was the destinations. So I do have some info there. It's kind of all up statistics, but that doesn't tell me about the quality on that. So
So Daryl said, try desktop sharing, and
oh
see how
yeah,
that
see what
affects
that
it.
looks like with
So
desktop sharing.
yeah, so I went over and I'm sharing my in the meeting is other Andy. I'm sharing the
Hmm.
desktop over there. Uh, the sent resolution is 1280 by 924. And the frame rate's only
Okay.
like 3.79 frames per second. But I'm sharing the YouTube video of us um,
Hmm.
doing the broadcast over there. So
Okay,
there's a
on
little
your
bit of
screen.
motion in that. Yeah. And
Okay,
that,
there we go. So I see under my received,
yeah.
I'm receiving 1280 by 924 for the screen, and I'm sending 480p for my video. Um, there's my receive bit rate. If I go into the details for screen sharing, what does that look like? A whole 3.9 frames per second. That'll ramp up if you were like actually start moving around or something. Um, so yeah, I'm not seeing like, 1080p individual videos, at least not at this level. But what I mentioned before was that like to my eyes, the OneDrive recording was like way higher quality
Right.
than what I actually saw in the meeting when I was actually like in it. So, but the app is telling me I'm not sending any better than 480p. So it can't. It's not like everybody's sending 1080 and it's locked to that, unless somebody who knows more about like the broadcast development kit knows more. Um, let's see if there's anything on the Teams admin center. I'm gonna look at the call quality dashboard for the live calls, see what it looks like, because that'll show you the individual streams. If you guys are Teams admins, you can see these types of details. So if we go in here, search for me on R4. So there's that. If I go to meetings and calls, I'm in a meeting right now. So that's in progress. I can open up that meeting and we'll see what the details are for everybody. So as we scroll down here, we'll start getting like the information is going to start coming in and tell me what the video looks like, what the screen sharing looks like. So we'll let that play out. But yeah, it doesn't appear, Andy, like each individual person is definitely sending 1080. It's gathering it up in the cloud. So I'm not quite sure um, what the situation is there. I wonder. So like Daryl's saying, hey, like my feed went down to 480p, so the AI producer has to work with that. Like if they show my camera on screen, full screen, is AI producer going to like say, hey, I need higher resolution and pull that through Teams? Is it going to tell the Teams app to ramp up? Or is it going to take my 480p video, stretch it out to 1080p and look not as good? So I'm not quite sure. But yeah, Sushil's saying, hey, if you have a lot of people going on, then yeah, obviously it's going to ramp down to protect the quality of the overall meeting. So, and then yeah, I know a lot of times um, I see like 240p for a lot of my stuff whenever I'm in actual live meetings. But I can see, so for John's details, he's on a Logidoc using his Cam 4K. All this type of stuff. The video bit rate, if I scroll over it, it's going to show me the resolution, right? Yeah, 480p. So I've been sitting at 480p like the whole time. If I go back though and look at my user profile and other participants, then I can also look at other people in here.
Yeah,
I
go ahead
can
and
see
pull
like,
mine
so
up.
Andy has poor network on a Mac Mini. Where there it is, join time. So now we'll see what Andy's stream looks like. He's got poor Wi-Fi strength, but his video is 720p. So there's a question for Microsoft. It's like, why am I on a Mac Studio Ethernet connected getting 480p when Andy's on crappy Wi-Fi that is red and he's getting 720? Maybe it's the internet output itself. Like, so what's your upload speed on your internet?
I'm gigabit up and down.
Oh, you see, I'm only, well, I mean, I am plenty for Teams, but I'm 40 meg up.
Yeah,
So
I'm gigabit up and down.
no, Daryl, I'm not sharing my desktop actually. That's Andy who is sharing his desktop into the meeting. He's sharing his YouTube window. So I'm sharing my desktop on Restream. So I mean, maybe that's something to do with it. I'm also doing a Restream live stream with you guys. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I'm squeezed down, but yeah. But Andy's doing good with his crappy internet right there.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it doesn't tell me like what your signal strength is, other than
Yeah,
just it's poor.
I
But
mean,
you're on 5 gigahertz. You're on wireless AC. I can see your internal IP address.
see, I'm not
So
getting any of those like poor Wi-Fi or anything like that. I'm not getting any notifications on that. My Wi-Fi strength
yeah, you're not getting
is
the banner.
yeah, it's and
Interesting.
everything's strong. In fact, I'll actually pull up the router itself.
Hmm. Yeah, and we can see Andy's the one doing outbound sharing, and he's here at 1280 966. Which, if you think about it, if you went into AI Producer and you locked in this layout, right? So like personally, I don't really love the go full screen to go full screen person, full screen side by side. I kind of don't really like that. I'm the type of guy who would rather see this layout where it's like Andy plus his screen and then save that. So it's like side by side. If you think about that, then your overall window is going to be 1080p. So you're going to need a section of it for your screen and a section of it for your video, so it's going to squeeze down. But so you don't necessarily need 1080p for your camera unless you're going to be full screen in that broadcast. But yeah, I guess that would be something to maybe one of these days get better clarification from Microsoft about, is like, at what point can you force people to be 1080p? Like, Daryl kind of mentioned this on the side that there's some other meeting apps out there where you can say, I want to send to this quality all the time. And that's like an app level setting. So it'd be nice to kind of have that level of control. Crappy gigabit internet. Speaking of internet, man, I had some problems with internet. My cable internet, there was a new house got built right behind me, and they were putting in an irrigation system earlier this week, and the guy punched into the ground on a marked orange line, punched in, grabbed my cable, and just ripped it when when he trenched. So my internet went down for like 6 hours, and they had to go bring a new cable out. They stretched it across my backyard, just out in the open. And then yesterday they finally came and buried it for me. But I'm hoping maybe within a month or two I'll get a fiber option to my house. They've run all the conduit for it. So hopefully I'll get gigabit internet here soon. I was spoiled with Google Fiber back in the day. So, oh yeah, so Shield's saying, what if I spotlight somebody? Are you testing that?
I've already done it.
Okay.
Yeah, I spotlighted
Okay, cool.
Andy on crappy Wi-Fi
Yeah.
or crappy gigabit internet Wi-Fi.
Check that out. It bumped up to 1080p.
Yep.
Okay. So what about if you spotlight me? I'm gonna spotlight myself. So we're spotlighted side by side. Oh wait, I spotlighted Megan. I'm gonna spotlight all of us. Let's see if it ramps up me and Megan to also do that. That might be a best practice then. Those who are watching is like, hey, if you want to force it to be better quality, maybe that's what we need to do is yeah. Maybe what we need to do then is you know, spotlight everybody so that they're high quality. I'm at 360p. We probably just need to give it some time
So
to catch up.
I got to bring up Daryl's comment. This is hilarious.
Yeah, fiber keeps you regular. You spelled fiber though wrong though, Daryl.
It's the French version.
The French version. Okay, yeah. So I'm the only one spotlit now. Let's see if it pushes me up. I saw like a little bit of an uptick right there in the middle. What's that? The bit rate. So it's pushing the bit rate up. Now I'm at 960 by 540. Give another like 10 seconds or so. Maybe it'll climb up a little bit higher. $960 by 540 still. So it's definitely pushed it up because you can see almost like when I clicked that button, you can see it starting to climb. So, but yeah. Yeah, spotlight all the panelists. That's what I did. I just spotlighted all three of them. So you might just do that is like use spotlight to maybe try to push the quality higher. So the rest of the world spelling. Get out of here. You probably also put the day before the month in your dates. Cool. Well, yeah, so it's stuck me at 540p. But hey, that's a bit of an improvement, I guess.
I mean, it's come through pretty clear on the Teams meeting on my Mac Mini. Like,
It looks pretty good
like
on
the
your
meeting
side.
itself, like outside of AI producer, like just the normal broadcast, like it's coming through really, really clear on there. The picture's really good, even though you might not be broadcasting at a full like 720p or 1080p. It's coming through really clear on that end.
Okay. Yeah, and the real test will be what did it look like in OneDrive whenever that is available to me. It's still not showing. But what would that look like? Because I bet you it's probably going to look pretty good. At least in my past tries of this, I wasn't live streaming through Restream at the time, but in my past experiences, like that OneDrive recording looked dang good.
Yeah,
So
it was really good. I remember when we were diving through, we were trying to find out the resolution of the file,
yeah.
and it looked really, really good. The frame rate looked higher too.
Yeah, but I mean, everything we're seeing though from the app and from the admin center is that it's pulling like a low quality. So it looks like it's not changing it. So but yeah, I don't have anything else on my notes to talk about with this. Are there any other questions that you guys want to see inside of AI producer before we give it up and then the demo goes away?
I like what what Daryl says there.
Yeah.
Another good reason
Another
to
good
have
reason
2
to have 2
meetings.
meetings.
Yep, production meeting with the presenter spotlighted, and then a viewing meeting webinar with the scenes controlled by the AI producer. And I like the gateway. Like I use the gateway for a lot of business solutions in SharePoint, uh, like a
Mhm,
gateway for publishing like events to a public calendar. We have
mhm,
a submission calendar where we can run approval processes and only certain things get published on the public calendar. So we have a gateway mechanism there. And using this in a meeting in this
yeah,
particular instance gives us that separation so we can have the spotlighted producers in one meeting and then we can broadcast it over to the other one. We can
mhm,
have the scenes and the layouts over there, but we can keep the separation and the people that are in the main meeting, the executives or whatever, they can continue to communicate with one another in that meeting and then we don't have to worry about things spilling over into the broadcasted version
mhm.
of that.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's gotta be best practice, right? Is split this thing out, do a separate meeting. I really like the idea of copying the meeting ingest, the meeting URL
Mhm,
for like, I want a destination to be another meeting. I like that option because I could see you using a shared mailbox to create your your town hall or whatever it's going to be. Um, and then just paste that in so that it pulls in the feed.
mhm,
I think that's a pretty interesting use case. And it works the same way. The comments from that experience kind of flow over in here. So you can put the comments on screen. You can still interact, even though it's like all inside of Teams. It's not YouTube, obviously. Um, I see that as a pretty good workflow for a Teams live event for like a town hall that's internal.
I
So
really like the simplicity. It's basically in the Teams interface. Like the challenges that we've had, like just doing live
mhm,
streams over the last couple of years, are like, do we have OBS running in a window and then Teams and then feeding that into something else? Do we have Restream running in a web browser window and
yeah.
then Teams and then feeding that? Like this simplifies a lot of that. It brings the encoder basically into Teams. The controls are basically in the sidebar of the Teams
Mhm,
panel as a producer, I can run pretty much everything that I need to from that singular interface and get all the advantages of using the external encoders and the things that we've done in these deep dives. So that really simplifies the workflow. But that also, I think, democratizes the workflow. So users that aren't as experienced with this and like
mhm,
are introducing another piece of software to the workflow, you're adding complexity. It's simplifying that complexity, but it's making it more
mhm.
approachable for, maybe an administrative assistant that is not well versed in encoders. They can set this up and they can broadcast it. Or, maybe I have somebody in my video conferencing team that's like a junior video conferencer, or
Mhm.
an intern or something, and they're onboarding and they're skilling up and they're getting to the point where they can participate and drive some of this. Like this is a lot easier entry level point for them versus
Get
somebody
them
with
running, put
3 years
guardrails on
broadcast
as far as, like, the
experience.
branding and stuff like that,
Yeah,
and then kind of, like, take those guardrails off by giving them more privs to an
right.
AI producer. Yeah,
And
they
even
could
then,
kinda
like
grow into the role.
in the context of the actual meeting, the flexibility, like Daryl pointed
Mhm,
this out earlier. While you were, live switching and moving back and forth between the different Andys and everything, Daryl brought it up. Like you can basically, a presenter comes on screen, you can change the logo to that person's like that represents them or maybe their brand while they're speaking, and then
oh,
you
yeah,
can
that's a good
switch
idea.
it back to the host of the event. So there's some flexibility
Mhm.
inside of that, which is really cool.
Yeah, that was in the rundown. The, like, branding was in each segment, wasn't it?
Hmm.
If I remember right? Yeah, let me check that again. So, inside the if I throw my screen up, inside of each individual one, you're saying, all right, so this is going to be John's logo and John's background. But then whenever Andy, our special guest, is on screen, he's going to get his logo and his background. And then we save that rundown. That's a good idea. Yeah, because you could have their own company branding. And all you've got to do, if you plan this, ahead, all you got to do is click that big purple button that says go to next segment. And it's boom, now Andy's on screen and all the graphics, everything's all updated. That's a cool idea.
Yeah. And like,
Yeah.
the I'm also really impressed with the agenda. Like, that can be super helpful and just staying
Mhm.
on time within the allotted time. But when you combine the agenda with the branding, when you if you run these
Mhm.
things as like a series, the branding that is part of the agenda can indicate what part you're in. So even if like you glance away
Mhm.
for a minute, you look back and it's like, oh, I've attended these a few times. When Andy has the white background, he's doing a demo on this, or when the background's blue and this icon's up here, that could indicate we're on a break or something like that. So like little things like
Mhm.
that, visual cues to people, as they're maybe multitasking and participating, but having that the ability to brand separate, but also to map out an agenda ahead of time.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I think the last big thing that I think this needs is these grayed out sections right here. The video and the bumper, or even like the break. If you were teaching a class, multi-hour class, you want the breaks built in. I'm excited to see those light up at some point because I'm wondering for this video, is it going to be uh, upload a video? You click it, you upload it to the service whenever you're scheduling a meeting, or is it going to be paste in the link to a SharePoint video, a Stream Classic video, or a YouTube link? You know, like, are you going to point it to a cloud video, or are you going to upload a video and store it with the meeting? I'll be really curious what that looks like because then you could add pre-show, post-show. With videos. You could do a semi-live, right?
Mhm.
A simulated live event where you could have the executive welcome, the video presentation, and then the Q&A, and then the next video module. Like, man, you could create like my cool class, have it go for like 180 minutes, like 3 hours, and then you could have segment 1 is like the welcome. Segment 2 is like the first module as a video. Segment 3 is a little bit of Q&A, and then back to a long video, and then
Yep.
back to Q&A. You can go back and forth, and then all you've got to do is just click that one go to next segment button to
Yep.
step through your class, and then you're not even teaching the class, you're running a class that is pre-recorded. So,
I would
yeah,
like to see
that'd be
transitions,
cool.
like transitions or stingers, because I'm thinking about like a post-production
Yeah, rather
cycle
than
with
just
it.
cutting.
Yeah, so like if I
Yeah.
if I could go to next segment and then have like a transition effect or a stinger in there, like that would be really
Mm,
cool, and that would really just trim
yeah,
down a
somewhere
lot
in
of the
here,
post-production
maybe
work.
under production tempo, slow, medium, fast, if there was like a transition area,
Yeah.
it'd be like, I want it to fade or I want it to cut or something. Um, that would be just that extra polish on top. I could also see it would be nice under the branding area if you could also do branding on your lower thirds.
Mhm.
So the speaker's name tags, what does a question block look like, right? If I don't want that color banner because blue is banned, then yeah, it would be great to say to say like I want to choose like the CSS for my lower thirds. That would be really nice.
They all read my mind. Alpha transparency. Give me an alpha
Yeah,
channel.
doing then you'd have real stingers that you
Yeah.
could have with your company logo and all that cool stuff if you could just do a video with alpha. Yeah, that would be rad. Yeah, some of that customization, I think that would really kinda add a lot of icing onto this,
Yep.
but like a big, big one is when you add videos as a section that would autoplay, then you really you open up more use cases. I think that's gonna be cool, and then if you could build out this branding a little bit more, um, I could see people wanting that. Transitions would be nice. Um, trying to think of what other things would I want out of this experience. There's there's not a lot. I mean, I feel like the status area, the statistics, that's pretty light. It'd be nice like if you could pick individual broadcasts and see how they went, right? Um, that would be kind of nice to basically like debrief if something went wrong. You
Well,
could see what the quality was. So,
if we're throwing things on the wish list, I would also like to see like timers, countdown timers, and like, we're getting
Yeah.
started, session's gonna end,
We didn't
whether it's
show that on here, but there's the break area. So, if I highlight my mouse again, you can do these timers right here,
Mhm,
but they're a little bit limited. So, like, let's take a 15-minute break. It will just say, I think if I was resuming the broadcast or somewhere in here, I think it says on screen when you're actually broadcasting, it'll say like we're taking a break or something. You would want that to be some kind of a different slide, and you probably would want the countdown on screen. You know, that would be nice. I wonder if they're going to
yeah,
build that into this rundown template, because I saw in the drop down there's bumper or break.
mhm,
So if you could select break and then have it be like, all right, that's a custom layout. I want the timer here. I want this background. I want the text to say that thing. That's where you're getting into, if we go back, you're getting into custom layouts right here. It would be great, yeah, if you could add a layout on this to say, hey, I want to have, let's do custom. I want to have a break screen that then has like a countdown timer. And that countdown timer is like a variable from the meeting application. So if you put in 7 minutes, it would just be a 7 minute countdown. It's a placeholder. I could see that really adding a lot to the experience, because right now you can just add screens and people. So I can put them on a grid. I can shrink them down to the right size that I want to. We didn't talk about this at all. Sorry, everybody. But we can change the layout however we want. And there's even like these little shortcuts. If I wanted 16 by 9, 4 by 3, or what is this one? Oh, it's a preview. So I'm going to allow my camera, because that's not dangerous at all. It actually might not work because I'm already using my camera in another browser for Chrome. Yeah, so it looks like you can put your camera in there and then you could move yourself around on screen, which is really cool. I think I hung this whole browser. So yeah, so Daryl's saying like, oh, custom scenes, saying, can you overlay the sources? Yeah, I was able to put them on top of each other like this, kind of do it like that. So that's one layout that you could do. Um, you also, I can't type the size, but I can drag it so it doesn't have to be 4 by 3 or 16 by 9. So I can make them like portrait like this and create a layout that looks like that if I wanted to. So yeah, you got even custom layouts. And like the cool thing is like this is going to mash this layout together, and it's going to be in Teams as the source in Teams. Like that's really cool. Yes. We need custom scenes like this in Restream. I really wish we could build custom layouts and stuff. I personally like the layouts better than Restream or than StreamYard looks. But yeah, Daryl, I know for like what you do with Daniel, I could see you really wanting custom layouts
yeah.
to not be forced. Like right now, we're 16 by 9. Like I would totally just squeeze in on us if we're in this layout that you guys are seeing right now. But with AI producer, yeah, you could build that and then you could save it and you could select who sees that layout option. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. This little window is just never going to go away on my browser. Just move it to the other screen. What else have we not gone through? I didn't show the licenses, but that's pretty straightforward. You can pick who you want to be licensed. You can choose whether or not they're an admin. If I pick like admin is safe. If I pick somebody from the list like Joanna, I can click on her, give her a license, and then I can make her a user, an admin, or a super admin. What's the difference between that? It tells me that super admin has full access to add or remove admins. Admins just have full access to the portal. So a super admin can make new admins or take away admins. That's the difference. But yeah, users without licenses 18. You can order more licenses, view just the people who have licenses. So yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, we went through the rundowns, the settings, stats, the proxy stuff. I just don't know really anything about this. I think you would probably need AI producer to help you if you're gonna do proxy stuff. And then if you hit need help, this takes you to the onboarding page.
I was
So
about to
here's how
bring up
you like
your
do all that stuff.
website's got some pretty good information. There's a section in there for quick start for getting started, and then there's a section for
Okay.
tutorials, and it looks like it's pretty detailed. I was posting that information in the YouTube chat, and if you're following
The
me on
beginning. Okay.
Twitter, I live tweeted some of that as well, and we'll get it up underneath the 365 deep dive Twitter handle.
Mhm.
I'll do some of that this weekend.
Oh, this is cool. So they've even got video uh examples.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Yeah, so he's going through and adding that's cool. Yeah, so definitely check out their website if you're interested in looking at this, and I'm sure somewhere in here is where you can also like request info about setting up a demo of it or a trial. So cool. Well, I think that brings us about to the end. We've been going for more than 2 hours here. I'm getting tired. So,
Thanks for hanging out, Daryl,
uh,
and
yeah,
everybody
thank
else
you,
that joined us
Daryl.
today.
Thank you very much,
Some good
Sushil,
Q&A.
for watching and hanging out. It's funny that you found us on our test feed, but I'm glad you made it over to our main feed. So anybody else who's watching, thanks a lot, and we will see you next month.
In the next one.
Yep, sounds good. See you later, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.